Have you noticed something weird at the airport lately? That whole frustrating ritual of taking off your shoes, pulling out your laptop, a process we've been doing for 20 years, is suddenly just better, faster. So what gives? Okay, let's dive in and figure out what's changed. I mean, seriously, if you've flown at all since the early 2000s, that sentence sounds completely impossible, right? Getting a full bottle of water through security feels like you just broke a fundamental law of physics. And yet, it's actually starting to happen at more and more airports. So that's the real mystery we're unpacking. For decades, we were told that scanners just couldn't tell the difference between water and, dangerous stuff. So what piece of technology finally cracked the code? What's letting us keep our laptops in our bags and our water bottles in our hands? Well, the answer lies in these new machines you've probably already seen at the checkpoint. They might look kind of similar to the old ones, but trust me, what's happening inside is a complete technological revolution. We all know the old routine, right? Unpacking half your bag, fumbling with your laptop, putting your liquids in a separate bin. It was a whole thing. Well, these new CT scanners change all of that. Everything stays put right in your bag. And that's because they see the world in a totally different way. Not as a flat 2D image, but in glorious 3D. So the first huge upgrade is this move from 2 dimensions to 3. And this is way more than just a prettier picture. It actually solves a massive security problem that has been a pain for all of us for years. See, the old 2D scanners were kind of easy to fool. Dense things like a laptop battery would just create this big dark blob on the screen, and you could hide something right underneath it. But these new machines are basically CT scanners, just like you'd find in a hospital. An X-ray source literally spins around your bag, taking hundreds of pictures to build a complete 3D model. Now, the security agent can just digitally grab your bag, spin it around, and look behind that laptop without ever having to open it up. Okay, so 3D solves the hiding problem. That's great. But it brings up a new question. A 3D model of a water bottle and a 3D model of a bottle of liquid explosives, they look, well, identical. To tell them apart, the machine needs to do way more than just see the shape. It needs to identify the actual substance inside. How on earth does it do that? This is where we get to the really brilliant science. To identify a material, you have to know what it's made of at an atomic level. The scanner needs a way to figure out the atomic makeup of every single item in your bag, and it's got to do it in seconds. The science behind it all starts with something called the photoelectric effect. In simple terms, as X-rays pass through your bag, different atoms absorb that energy in their own unique ways. It's this unique absorption that kind of acts like a fingerprint, and it allows the machine to start figuring out what stuff is made of. But of course, it's not quite that simple. How much X-ray energy gets absorbed also depends on a material's density, its thickness, and the energy of the beam itself. So to get a clear answer, the machine has to cut through all of that noise and isolate the one variable that truly matters, the atomic number. So how do they do it? It's this really clever 4-step process. First, the machine fires 2 different X-ray beams, one high energy and one low energy. Now, since it's a CT scanner, it knows the exact thickness of every single item. With that info, it can calculate how much each beam got weakened as it passed through. And the final, crucial step is comparing the results from those 2 beams. That ratio points directly to what's called the effective atomic number, or Z for short. And there we have it. It seems like we've cracked it. We've got a Z number that acts like a fingerprint for different materials. The scanner can just look up the Z number, identify what it is, and flag anything dangerous. Problem solved, right? Well, not quite. And here's the big twist in the story. Water has a Z number of 7.42. But it turns out common explosives and their key ingredients, like hydrogen peroxide, have Z numbers that are almost identical. They're all sitting right there between about 7.30 and 7.45. They are dangerously, almost indistinguishably close. And that is the exact reason for the exact liquid van we've all been living with for 20 years. With Z numbers being so incredibly close, the risk of the machine flagging your water bottle as an explosive was just way too high. It would have slowed security to a crawl, so it was just simpler to ban all large liquids. So what changed? If the atomic numbers are still too close to call, how do these new machines finally solve the puzzle? Well, there was one last piece of information they needed to unlock. As an engineer from Smith's Detection, one of the companies that makes these scanners, explains, the secret ingredient is density. See, while two materials might have a similar atomic number, they often have different densities. And when you plot both of those variables together, materials that were all clumped together suddenly separate into their own distinct groups. So how does it find the density? Remember that amazing 3D model from the beginning? That gives the scanner the exact volume of any object. So by combining that volume with the X-ray absorption data it already has, the machine can calculate an object's density with incredible accuracy. So the solution isn't just one variable, it's two. By combining the effective atomic number, the Z, with the material's calculated density, the scanner can finally, confidently, and accurately tell the difference between a harmless bottle of water and something dangerous. This is an absolutely incredible feat of engineering. But what does it actually mean for us? Well, the impact is much, much bigger than you might think. This number is just staggering. At just one small airport in Ireland, if this technology saves every single passenger just 5 minutes in security, that adds up to a cumulative 9.75 million minutes saved per year. That's 18.5 years of human time given back to passengers every single year at just one airport. Ultimately, this whole story is a perfect example of how small, clever engineering improvements can have these massive ripple effects. They can solve our daily frustrations, reduce stress, and make society as a whole more productive. It's the power of a single good idea scaled up to help millions of people. So it leaves you with a final thought to chew on. When you look at all the little annoyances and things that slow you down in your own life, it's worth asking, what other daily frustrations are just one brilliant engineering breakthrough away from disappearing forever?